We have just spent 2 days talking about AI's impact and how to adopt it on a campus if you're an administrator or a staff member. But let's flip the script. So, students, when you hear artificial intelligence, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you? Maybe it's useful, scary, exciting, or something totally different. Tyler, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd say probably the first word that comes to my mind would be disruptive. I feel like disruption can lead to both excitement or fear when faced with the idea of AI, because AI can unlock incredible possibilities for some, but while for others, it may bring uncertainty if they don't feel like they fully understand its potential, or how to use it safely and productively. I feel like the approach we'll have to take, we'll just have to adjust and create some sort of system solution to integrate and deploy the use of AI effectively within the college, education, university kind of world. Um, but yeah, I feel like it can be very disruptive, both in a good and if you don't understand how to use it, if you don't have like set, guidelines, it can also bring a little bit of issues, but to focus on creating those guidelines.
The first thing that I think of is the potential danger that it can cause for people in creative industries. It's extremely easy to just like type into ChatGPT, write me an article about XYZ or whatever you want, and it'll have a pretty decent article written for you in about 5 seconds. It's scary because as AI improves, it will get harder to recognize it, and there's less stopping people from doing it because it'll sound less robotic. But on the flip side, it can also be potentially useful because if you can just really quickly write a decent article with ChatGPT, why not do it? Because it is just a lot more efficient.
Okay, so the first word I think about is opportunity. And part of the reason I think of this is because I like to keep in touch with the news and what's happening in the world. And a lot of times we will hear about AI developments as they are happening. So, for example, I can remember one time where you know, uh, checked into CBS Mornings to see what they were talking about one morning. And one time it was about the bus driver shortage, which I'm sure your communities have been facing. It hit my school district when I was in high school. And one way that one school district used AI was to create more efficiently bus routes. And bus routes, these take days to weeks to put together. And AI was able to do it in the matter of a couple of hours to find the most efficient way. And just one more thing I'll throw out there too, since I know our audience is a lot of university professionals. Something I was just thinking about today is how could AI be used to create, again, I'm a resident assistant, create like pairs, match up residents when we are admitting students into the residence halls. So just another thing to throw out there. And then I think Nour had his thoughts next.
Absolutely. And I find that really interesting. And I want to press on something Reece said. But before that, I think without a doubt, the first thing that comes to me is time. I try to do a lot with my life, and I just immediately think about all the time. I've already saved with AI. There are a lot of tasks where I'm like, I'm writing this email. I want to make it sound right, but I don't want to stress over certain words or certain tone. Let me just feed this into AI and make sure it has the right tone that I have. And that's really it saved me a lot of time. The human mind really should be used at what it excels at, creativity. And that's what AI, I think, offers us. It lets us use our time towards that creativity. And that's why I find it interesting where Reece is like, hey, I'm scared for what the creativity will do here. And I'm like, yeah, no, I see that. But also, I think AI allows us time for creativity. Those monotone tasks can disappear. And, instead of fearing the future, which is really inevitable, we should focus on the positives and prepare for our negatives.
I echo what everyone on the student panel has said that AI can be both revolutionary and destructive. As a creator and as the editor of the newspaper, I feel that AI has effectively decreased our workloads without impinging our creativity yet. I think potential there's a lot of potential dangers there, in my opinion, and I do hope that the regulatory sphere catches up with AI in time to kind of protect some of that copyright, some of that creativity. But at the same time, as Nour said, like it allows us to really focus more of our time and energy on true creativity rather than some of the mundane tasks that as a creator you always are looking to usually get out of the way.
Yeah. And as Kevin is noting in the chat room, like it also takes a certain level of creativity to work with the tool of artificial intelligence to get the output that you need. I mean, this is great. These are great intro perspectives. And I think there's a healthy amount of excitement, but also some skepticism. And Tyler, I love that the word that came to your mind was disruptive because AI is going to be disruptive to the workplace. And I completely agree with you on that. All right. So, Nour, I'm going to send this question back in your direction. Do you remember the first time you realized that a business or even, your own college was using artificial intelligence and how they were communicating with you? And if you do remember, what was your reaction?
Right. I can't remember the exact instance, but I remember, AI had started coming out, people were talking about it, and then I started getting these mass messages. And
Mm,
when AI started coming out, you could tell that it was AI written. You could tell that it still wasn't super refined, that there were issues. But honestly, I didn't think it was anything special, right? I already assumed most of the mass emails were just written by someone and sent out without being personalized because that's the nature of mass emails. So, what difference does it make if it's written by AI or by a human? So, really, I was like, you know what? I'm assuming this is gonna happen. I was like, oh, this is cool, but I was expecting it.
cool.
So my first encounter with AI was a little bit more voluntary. So I started searching for colleges at the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. I figured this would be a good use of my time. I knew what I wanted to go to college for, so I was like, I'm just gonna start searching. And so what I started with was webinars like this, where admissions reps would come on. They'd have the nice little backgrounds of their school. And I quickly started to realize every webinar was the same. All the admission reps
Mm,
were saying the same thing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to need to do a little bit more research on my own. And one of my number one criteria was I needed a school with a specialized broadcast journalism program. Um, and so what I found was that AI almost could help me do that because I could log into a I'm going to use Drake University for an example. That seems like a good fitting example. So I could go on to Drake University's website and they have these like 360 virtual tours that a lot of schools have. And right at the beginning, this little bot, because lack of a better word, this little bot asked me what I'm interested in, and I'm like, "Oh, this is great. We can just get this out of the way right away, and see if this is a school that has journalism." So I put that in. I was like, broadcast journalism. And then the virtual tour took me to Meredith Hall, which is where the journalism program is housed. And it showed me 360 photos of the space. And I was pretty sold. So, it saved time and it also helped me get to the point of, does this school have what I'm looking for?
So I hear these kind of being positive experiences, and I wanted to give at least one slightly less positive experience with how I learned AI first on campus, and that was from a conversation in our newsroom about administrators sending emails that sounded a little off, that sounded a little impersonal, especially when the circumstances that had prompted those emails were kind of emotional, kind of impacted the campus community. We still never did like confirm, oh, this administrator wrote this email with AI, but I think it's still important to know that there are students who automatically, even when writing just sounds very professional, are still going and thinking, oh, this is impersonal. Like we don't know. Those administrators could have very well written that email without the use of generative text, but there is still substantial backlash and a little bit of defensiveness. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Mac, because a human needs to be in the loop no matter what. And it's really the empathy side of the conversation that like AI is never going to be able to replicate human empathy. And that requires us to step back and like to your point, like and actually Nour said this too, like who cares who wrote the content? But what the audience cares about is does it convey the right message in the right tone? And a human can get that wrong just as easily as an AI, generative AI tool can get that wrong. So it just absolutely, especially when communicating sensitive information, there's definitely been some examples in our industry over the last couple of years where AI didn't get it right. And I think that that's caused people to have some hesitation as a result. Well, those were great examples. Reece, I'm going to put you on the spot now, though, because as our panelist in high school, you've got a very different perspective, right? So, how are the students at your high school talking about AI? Like, is it excitement? Is it concern? Maybe something else? And I'm also curious if teachers are weighing in on it too.
Okay. Well, students at my school use AI for almost everything they possibly can. And it's like when it's used correctly, it can be extremely helpful to create outlines or help with research. And that's very exciting for students to just be able to do less work. Um, Almost every single teacher is very, very anti-AI. If
Mm.
anything looks AI generated at all, there are lots of penalties. Most of the time, they'll just automatically give you a 0 on the assignment. But there are a few teachers that do encourage you to use it, but they set very strict guidelines for how you're allowed to do that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good to know. So let's move on and talk a bit about, kind of like the good, the bad, and the what. So where have you seen AI actually make an interaction better for you? And that could be anything from it saved me time to it gave me better information, or it just simply made a task easier. Tyler, we haven't heard from you in a minute. I'll toss it to you.
Yeah, so I see the interaction where I've seen it really help is with brainstorming. With me being an entrepreneurship major, it does a great job at thinking kind of outside of the box, with while minimizing cognitive biases. So it kind of synthesizes like a large data pool that you give a parameter for. And I feel like it's a good way of combining that human creativity that we've talked about and the machine intelligence. I think they boost each other. They're not, one's not better than the other. They need both. And I feel like that combination of the human creativity and the machine intelligence is a really good interaction that I've personally noticed. Um, and yeah, it just allows for combinations and solutions that otherwise could have been unknown, maybe pulling from
Mm,
different kind of areas of thought that, I might not be able to connect on my own.
I do that all the time, for the record.
AI has likewise saved me vast amounts of time in a lot of journalistic pursuits. So I've used AI to help me source professors in a certain topic from across the country, and otherwise looking up each of those individual universities and trying to type, oh, do they have someone in their department of government who specializes in blank? Can get really, really cumbersome. And so AI, I put in find me experts who specialize in blank. and it gave me a bunch of options. I was able to contact like 15 sources, which was a good thing because I will let you know that 10 of them denied me right off the bat. So, especially for some of these really, I think for some of my political reporting especially, it has helped me, one, fact check. It has helped me, two, find those sources, and three, oh, I had a third, but anyway, it has also helped me with Google searches. I think now that that AI feature is up at the top, I can get like a few different perspectives on an issue right away. Granted, I have not always liked the sources it draws from, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah. Yeah. Nour, before you, I know you've got an answer to this one too. Before you jump in, I think it's really important that anybody listening, right, if you haven't tested out those AI driven Google search engine responses for your own institution, I would put that on my task list or give your, web team a call and ask them if they've been taking a look at that. I think artificial intelligence is going to be a bit of a Trojan horse for getting our websites, our .edu websites, to just be better in terms of the content and, keeping that content actually up to date. Because if there's ever been gaps in that, like it is going to be exposed now as AI is crawling our websites and pulling that information. Mack doesn't even have to leave the Google search engine results page to get a bunch of information about your institution because AI is summarizing it. And it's just a caution to be aware of. All right, Nour, I didn't mean to jump in over you though. So what's your response to this question?
No problem at all. And I guess I'm gonna serve a little devil's advocate here. I heard
Awesome.
Tyler and Mac hit on this a bit that they like using AI for brainstorming. I actually really dislike using AI for brainstorming. I feel like all the ideas I get out of it are all general ideas, right? Because AI works by compiling data that it's fed, right? It's fed from a large database and it's taught all this information and it really regurgitates what it believes is the best. So you won't really get any fresh ideas. So what I like using AI for is I use it for those menial tasks. I have an essay due. Let me proofread it through AI, right? I've written it by myself. Let me see if there are any grammar issues I didn't catch that AI can catch, right? Um, Let me see, do I need some citations for this academic paper that I'm writing, right? Let me feed it through AI, right? I'll do it on my own, most of the time on my own, but sometimes AI, make this APA 7th edition for me. Or really, when I want to understand something, right? And I don't mean in depth, right? I'm learning about a new topic. I'm like, hey, teach me this. You know, Sometimes I'll be like, I'm a 5-year-old. Teach me this topic. Let me get a basic understanding of it. So if I hold a conversation with someone, no, I'm nowhere near of an expert, right? But I can hold a conversation, right? I can discuss it with you. We can meet. I can learn. So that's really where I like using AI.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So, well, we've, talked about all the ways that AI can make interactions better for us and or save time, help with brainstorming, pick up menial tasks. But like, let's go to the other side of that coin, right? Like, what's annoying? Have you ever had an interaction with AI that maybe felt off to you? Maybe it was too robotic or just straight up frustrating and unhelpful. Mac, what about you?
So, on the flip side of some of that stuff that AI has really helped in the journalist sphere, it's really bad, at my opinion, at the type of writing that really resonates with human beings. So, humans are natural storytellers, and I think we always will be. Humans are always going to be the best at connecting with other humans. So, asking it to revise certain paragraphs or like even a whole story and say, hey, like I've been wanting this to have a different tone. Like, could you try that? And it doesn't really work. Or a headline. Headlines are hard to come up with.
Mm.
And I'll ask, okay, we have this story. Can you try to come up with a headline? I'm like, no, we're not using any of that. I will go and I'll ask my whole newsroom before I let that headline run. So some of the true English, like not the type of writing that is research, but the type of writing that really resonates with humans, just isn't in the AI
Okay.
database yet, I guess.
Okay. Sadie, what do you think?
Yeah, and I'll just tag off of something Max said really quickly. You know what your story is about when you write that story. You know the conversations that you had. So yeah, you can write a better headline than AI can, believe me. I believe in you. So, okay. AI generated voiceovers for videos, you guys, they're not cute. I don't like them. I think they're really annoying. And sorry to be so blunt there, but I just think that they sound very disingenuous. It sounds like a person who's like trying to sound excited, but they're really sleepy, and so it just falls flat. Like that is the word to put to it. AI generated voiceovers, they just fall flat. So I would just really encourage you, if you're creating a video for your college or something, to do your own voiceover. It only takes a few minutes. And people are going to skip over the video if there is an AI generate. I skip over videos that have an AI generated voiceover every time. So get somebody with a nice voice and have them do it instead, please. I beg.
All right. So Sadie says, do not use 11 labs for literally everything under the sun. Noted. I'll tell you, I did use 11 labs for an April Fool's podcast last year. And the thing we just couldn't get it, like it replicated me and my co-host voices pretty well, but it just couldn't get the laughter. It was the like the ha 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 ha. It was awful. So I know I'm just laughing over here in my human laugh because I agree with you. AI generated voiceovers can be very not cute. All right, Nour, what do you think?
Well, I want to jump off something that, well, first of all, Sadie is 100% correct. If it's AI voiceover, I'm skipping over it. I'm not listening to it. It's more of it doesn't seem interesting for me. Maybe because of my short attention span. I'm just no. I'd rather read this than listen. Yeah. Everyone can this song. Press a bit. AI is not good for new ideas. AI will give you a history of all the ideas that have happened, but it's not good for new ideas because it's just a giant program right now. We call it artificial intelligence, right? But it's a giant program that functions by working on responses and learning from responses in the past, right? It's an advanced program. So it's not going to come up with a new innovation that nobody's ever heard. They can't do it. It's not built for it, right? And so let's use AI for something it's built for, Like I mentioned earlier, those menial tasks, and hopefully in the future, we can advance to those. And I'm seeing that. I don't know if you guys are avid ChatGPT users. I know I am. ChatGPT recently came out with this new feature. It's called the Reason feature. Right. And the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, let's try it out. I type something in and I press reason. And AI is taking me through what it seems like to me its thoughts, right? It's deeply analyzing and it's critically thinking. And that makes me slightly cautious, right? Now I'm like, oh, this is wow. I didn't realize AI could do this. Really to stress it and to really highlight on what Mack said. Don't use it to brainstorm ideas. Don't use it to name anything. Please don't use it to name anything. It shouldn't replace people. That would be counterproductive. It should help with the people. It should be an addition to them. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. And I think after these last 2 days of learning, about agentic AI, folks in the audience are maybe even thinking about how one day it's not just about managing humans, it's about managing humans alongside AI agents to work together to amplify what we're doing. Dr. Spriggs and Devin definitely spoke to that in today's opening keynote. Now we're going to take a slight tangent over to our webinar chat because Chrissy asked a great question when we were talking about AI voice. Chrissy's interested to know if anyone on this panel has engaged in an AI generated phone call. Any show of hands? Has anybody? Nour has. Mack has. Sadie's like, I don't even know if I have or not. Okay. All right. So we have a couple people who probably have. So Mack, how would you feel if you were conversing, or like, how did you feel when you were conversing with the AI agent via voice on the phone?
So I do believe this is an example of AI, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
The Walgreens pharmacy uses an AI to get through almost everything before you are allowed to talk with a pharmacist.
Okay.
So, and I have a lot of interactions with Walgreens. Um, so it has been often frustrating. I do think part of that is they don't have some sort of infrastructure to support like a volume of calls, and so then they are just constantly like it's not working. It is literally not working, and I think Walgreens thinks it's working. I've also had classmates who just answer regardless of what the AI says back to them because it prompts you, and 75% of the time I've used it, it's been great. It gets me what I need immediately. Um, I have classmates though who don't trust that, and the second the AI comes on the phone, they just go talk to a pharmacist. AI speaks back, talk to a pharmacist. And if you tell it enough, it will let you talk to a pharmacist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reece, I'm curious to know, since you're in the middle of your college search right now, if you got a phone call from an institution that you were really considering applying to, but then like maybe you didn't realize in the moment, maybe you did, but it's an AI generated phone call. Like, are you going to feel a certain way about that? Or, similar to what we've said earlier, like, do you not really care?
I would probably be pretty annoyed if it
Hmm.
was an AI phone call because, like Nour said, it should be used to for like small tasks that you don't really want to do, and it would
Mm,
make me feel like that if a college was calling me, but they used AI to do it, it's just not very high on their priority list and like something that they don't really want to do themselves. So
okay.
it would feel kind of lazy.
Okay, interesting. Um, Tyler, I'm going to throw another webinar chat question over to you. Molly is wondering, like, let's say you're in a scenario where you need help from one of the offices, but maybe it's Saturday afternoon or, 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, right? That office is not open at that time. If you were presented with the option to chat with like an AI chatbot or to speak with an AI agent on the phone, would you have a preference between those two? And how would you feel about that?
Yeah, and I also have a topic that I'll kind of go into more later on in the
Okay.
same kind of degree, but I don't think I would have a preference necessarily. I think they're both a good option because there is no other option.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like with how Reese was saying before, in the question before was, he was reaching out during, let's say, office hours, like whenever people are open, and it could be a person. When it comes to a situation where it's out of hours and or on a weekend, I think it's really useful to help kind of just get some of that information out there.
Okay. Sadie, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I don't believe so. I think Tyler laid it out
Okay,
pretty well, so.
great. All right, so let's keep this conversation going, and kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about. Let's talk a little creepy or cool. So, AI obviously has the power to personalize all sorts of things as it relates to your education experience. It can be as basic as knowing your name and your interests, even predicting what you might need help with based off of different inputs. So, Reece, I'll start with you. Do you trust AI powered recommendations in an academic setting, perhaps course planning, career advising, or anything else?
I think that AI powered recommendations in academic settings can be extremely helpful, especially when it comes to personalizing like the college experience. AI can analyze data like academic performance and interests to suggest courses or career paths that align with a student's strengths and goals.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do believe that human interaction is still crucial for a good understanding of a student's needs, because AI can miss nuances or personal preferences that aren't captured in data. I think it's important to balance AI insights with guidance from advisors who can offer emotional intelligence and a deeper context.
I like that. Yeah.
Perhaps it's because Drake University has such a good advising structure, but I'm pretty hesitant of the use of AI, at least in the career path and course path advising. Drake is as a smaller institution and as an institution that also prides itself on this one-on-one advising structure. It's like you can go into your advisor's office, especially in our School of Journalism, and sit down and without a meeting, talk for sometimes up to an hour, you know? You could talk about your personal life or your academic life, and those are linked. Your personal, what's going on there is often much more connected to your academic life, I think, than a lot of college administrators realize. And the best feedback that I have ever gotten in regards to changing my like courses a little bit, or even like pursuing a career, has always been something that came directly from a person. It wasn't something I looked up online and said, I'm looking for journalism fellowships. Please give me the best ones. And it tries, but like my advisor knows me. My advisor sees opportunities come through their email and sends them to me. Now, the course planning, like I can imagine some AI potential getting the schedules figured out, presenting alternative schedules. I use a tool to do that. I still have to manually enter every course, but because I've pursued like two majors and a minor that have no overlap, it would be really useful for a student like me to have AI tools, once again, for the menial tasks, but not for the brainstorming.
To add on to that, and really to get on my answer, right? I would trust it partially, but not completely, right? If it's the starting phase where I'm like, I'm not sure, right? I would maybe use AI, but I would want to sit with someone and have a person who understands me to really hear me out and maybe to be like, no, I don't think that's for you, right? I appreciate that constructive criticism in that specific. And really, let me use an example of something, I'm going through right now. I'm considering colleges to transfer to, right? And I have these
Mm-hmm.
two colleges that, I've got these two colleges. So I've been using AI. I'm like, give me the pros and cons of this, compare it to that. But in the end, that's maybe 10, 15%. What really matters to me, and I mean this from a specific point of view, is this college a right fit for me? And the AI doesn't know me. And that's where AI will have that break where it can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Tyler, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, currently, going along with that, I believe that AI shouldn't be the sole interface that you interact with. Whenever it comes to like career or course planning, just due to the lack of that face-to-face interaction. Whether it's with someone that, may know your personality or capabilities to a greater degree than AI. But I do see it as being an amazing tool to be utilized alongside that traditional human interaction. Just like what I said earlier, with its ability to really synthesize data like the courses or the different career paths. And it also just gets those solutions immediately, like when it comes to like schedule planning.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, so one of my main interactions with AI is when I'm given job recommendations, which those emails are very welcome in my inbox because of where I'm at. We might need to cancel those later, but for now, they're very much appreciated. So I do really like, and again, we have great career advisors at Drake University, but they also have a lot of students to tend to. And so like the job recommendations that I get from LinkedIn that are AI powered is really nice because it just lays out every job that like I could potentially be interested in. And it's just all in one place too. And then there's lots of opportunities. So I can really apply to a bunch and better my chances of getting a summer internship this summer. Um, and it also will let me know as soon as that opening opens up too, so I can make sure I am just on the ball and getting that application in. Something that AI cannot do, however, is connections. The advisors here and even the students here have human connections where, and this happened last week, Mack was there too. I applied to a job a few weeks ago, a summer internship, and ran into somebody who was an alum who came to visit our school, and he found out that I had applied to that internship, and he's like, hold on, and he emailed the person who would be conducting the interview. So the connections, because AI couldn't send that email to the person who was interviewing me and be like, hey, you know, I know Sadie and she's great and you should hire her. Like, no, because the interviewer wouldn't trust AI, but the interviewer knows Chris, so they're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, okay, we'll see how this pans out. I'll keep y'all updated. But like again, AI can't do connections, but can give you really good job recommendations.
Right. Yeah. So AI is not going to replace our network of humans, thank goodness. Um, so let's and Kristen, I see your question in the chat, so I'm going to actually incorporate your question into my next one for this panel. And a lot of folks are attending this event today because they want to get it right, because they're somewhere in the swimming pool. They might just be dipping their toes in. They may have already jumped into the deep end, somewhere in between, who knows. But the staff members who are listening to this panel right now care deeply about getting this right and serving you, the students, in the best way possible. So if you could give a piece of advice to all of these staff members who are sitting here and starting to use AI, right? Like if you could give them one piece of advice about using artificial intelligence and how they interact with you, what would it be? And then I'm going to add on what Christian asked, right? Like if you have had limited interactions with AI, how might that college actually introduce it to you in a way that is maybe friendlier, right? Not creepy, more cool. Tyler?
Yeah, so I'll actually start with a story that I had. So I had a professor that utilized AI when it came to formulating like in-class workshops or activities, and he actually made it known to us that he was using that to build his knowledge of AI, but to also kind of check and see where AI is at with its factual information to make sure it was accurate. Um, and I feel like this experience, him introducing this into the class, really opened up AI to us in a productive light, whereas originally it could have been seen as very negative with using it to kind of take shortcuts and things like that. So one thing I believe that schools and universities need to do is prioritize the transparency in guidance, clearly communicate AI's role in the school by providing ethical guidelines and also empowering students with the skills to use it responsibly, rather than just policing its use, actually showing how it can effectively be used to really build your skills and kind of advance, that area.
I appreciate you saying that because
Mhm.
as somebody who employs recent graduates, right?
Mhm.
Like, I think it is so important that you are prepared to use AI, and transparency is critical
Mhm.
in that. And so if your professor's using it, you want to know that just as
Mhm.
much as the professor wants to know if you're using it, right? And so communicating that role and just empowering students in the process to use it ethically and responsibly, I think that we cannot say that enough. So thank you. All right, Nour, you're up.
No, I think Tyler made a really good point here, right? And I mean this more on a student perspective side, but seriously, you either facilitate the correct use of AI or you risk it being used incorrectly, right? That's where our
Mm,
world has come to. It's either you teach it to students or students use it anyways and they don't use it in the correct way, right? And they lack that
yes.
creativity, right? So teach these students how to use AI, right? Teach them where it falls, where its downfalls are, right? And where it succeeds. Have them learn that in a setting where you can, help them. You can be like, yeah, no, you don't want to use the AI to write your essay. You're not learning anything. But hey, if you're trying to make sure that what you're writing is meeting a correct standard where you're having the AI rate your writing or you're having it proofreading, no, there shouldn't be any problem. Here's how to do it, right? Make sure you tell it not to edit your writing because then it's giving you unfair tips, right? Let AI be the starting point, right? That's really what I want to stress here. Let it be the starting point and, ensure that a human is there, a professor is there to teach correctly.
Mm, preach. Amen. All right, Reece, what do you think?
Um, I think that colleges should just make sure that their tool is perfected before they try and use it. I
Okay.
got an ad the other day for like a website that you took a quiz and then it recommended colleges to you. And I was just interested to see what it would recommend. So I took it and it just spit out this list of colleges that I was like, we ruled these out months ago. What are you talking about? It was, and I keep getting emails from them now, so I think I'm probably just gonna block it because I'm nothing is valuable that they have to say.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just make sure that the tool is actually perfected before you try and use it.
That's a great point. All right. So what's next? Let's look in our crystal ball and fast forward 5 years. How do you hope AI is being used to impact the student experience for those future college students? Mac, what do you think?
So, like many people, meetings are kind of the bane of my existence, and I do a lot of them. So, I think there is strong potential for AI to cut down on meetings and really, I mean, it's already happening, cutting down on meetings and truly creating like information networks that people constantly have access to, so they don't have to continuously meet and go over the same things. And I think there's a lot of organizational potential there too. And then when we do have to schedule a meeting, I would love to see really easy, like, schedule a meeting for me with these people type plugins. There are some that work decently. They're also not like the best, or they're not free, or people don't trust them yet, or don't want to put their schedules in there, or like something that's more adaptable to like, oh, this is a great meeting time, but this is a decent meeting time, you know? A lot of people do that too. Um, and also, I still do like to see AI help with email writing because there's a lot of mundane email writing in the world. Um, just not the emails about crises, perhaps, or it can help, but there really should be like brainstorming about message and stuff, then AI, and then even more brainstorming. You know, kind of like sandwich it in there between human impact.
Yeah, in 5 years, I hope AI is being used to enhance, not necessarily replace that human support. I used to be a tutor here at SEMO at their learning systems programs, and one way that I could see it being really useful is AI powered tutors, kind of like how we talked about earlier, whenever it's kind of like out of service, like, say it's hours that, tutors aren't available, but it's the only one that, the time the student is available. I can see it being a good way to provide just real-time adaptive support to those that may have that more restrictive schedule. And then I also could see it being utilized to make like essential services, like we were talking about earlier, more accessible and responsive, even personalized with those AI kind of phone calls if it's, after hours. And it could also help identify students, kind of like that building, its knowledge of the student, um, could help kind of identify students that may be showing early signs of some form of struggle while they're communicating with that chat, whether it's a chat bot or AI assisted software, and connect them with the right support before it does become a crisis. So I feel like that could be a really big one in the near future that it could help with.
Yeah. Tyler, the future's now. There are institutions, there are people who are in the webinar chat who are doing exactly that, utilizing AI already. And I think, the topic of student persistence is so important. And we know that sometimes it can be the difference of, can I re-enroll next semester, or do I need to use that money to put food on the table for my family or repair my car? Because if I don't have a car, I can't get to campus to keep learning. And there is absolutely an opportunity for artificial intelligence to detect some early signs where a student may be at risk. And that is a really great and proactive use case that already exists today. It is just not being used as widely as it could be. And so I plus 100 everything you just said. All right, we've got a few questions in the chat room. Mara is asking a question to you, Reece. She's curious if you know what website provided that quiz to you, because of course, it may have just spit out some information because some institutions paid it to, right? Or it could have actually been real AI recommendations. And I think Mara's trying to suss out which it is.
I found it like it was an ad on Instagram, and the website was Niche that
Okay.
gave me the recommendations.
All right. Jessica is asking in the chat room, what is the top AI tool that you all love? So let's go round robin, and Sadie, I'll have you start.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but I really love the LinkedIn Smart Job recommendations. I don't know if that counts, but that's the one that I interact with the most. And I'm kind of looking at different locations for jobs because I have family members in the Midwest as well as the East. So I'm open to like anything in that area. And I think that Smart Job recommendations has caught on to that. So I've been able to be connected with some really cool applications through that feature.
Awesome. Mack?
We're talking about favorite AI tools, right?
Yes.
This is so basic. I've really enjoyed ChatGPT from all of its interview revising and searching capabilities. And it's capable of so many things. Claude has been kind of nice for doing a little bit of more creative or even like programming related stuff. Like when I started a personal website, Claude was really nice for that. So those are my two.
Great. Reece, what about you?
I also love ChatGPT. It's very easy to use and easy to access, and it can do most things that you ask it to.
Yes, most things being the key word. All right. So a couple of our panelists ran into a couple tech issues. So we're going to close out with Mack, Sadie, Reece, and myself. And I am interested, y'all, in just kind of in summary, right? We're getting to the top of the hour. If you had to sum up how you feel about AI in one word, what would it be and why? Sadie, you're up.
Yeah, I think that this entire panel, I've shared more of an optimistic view. But I think so that's why in this last question, I do want to share that I do feel a little bit anxious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And mainly about my own knowledge. I think that right now, having a knowledge and an understanding of AI is something that job recruiters in pretty much any industry are going to be looking for, just making sure that you're current and you're even future thinking. But I think at the end of the day, I really just need to trust my abilities and just keep staying informed about the developments as they're happening. And then that will kind of solve my anxiety there.
Mack, how are you feeling?
I'd say I'm anticipatory. I think that has positive and negative elements. I'm really anticipating what is to come, both more creative backlash and some of it rightfully sourced of, AI taking things without really attributing, and there being maybe a little bit of missourcing, though I'm also kind of like false info and misinterpreted info is out there anyway, and I'm not really sure AI is so much as of a cause of that as like potentially could be used the wrong way to promote that. But I'm also anticipating a lot of things becoming easier and a lot of those really small tasks that I, as a creator, feel like I get bogged down in all the time, kind of coming off my plate, even more so than they are now, so that I really have time to. Because sometimes this feels like such a intense profession, and I feel like I work like 80 hours a week, And I would just love to see a world where I can continue doing what I love without spending at least like a quarter of my time on these menial tasks.
Um, if I had to use one word, I would use excited. While AI definitely presents challenges, it's very exciting to see continued growth and development. The evolving capabilities promise to like reshape industries, and it'll be very interesting to see how it influences the way people perform their roles across like all different fields.
Amazing. All right, folks, we are officially at the end of our event, and I am so grateful for all of you who were with us for these last 2 days. Let's give it up for our students, Nour, Tyler, Sadie, Reece, and Mack. The 5 of these students just brought so much great energy and insights to help close out what was just a really terrific 2-day virtual experience. Awesome job, y'all. You just absolutely crushed it. As you can see, the chat and the reactions are blowing up. I think I am with you, Ingrid. This was an incredible panel discussion, and the honesty and transparency that you all brought to this conversation, I think was refreshing and much needed. So, friends, you've heard me say this a few times already, but in about 15 minutes, you're going to get an email from me that will have a link to our survey for this event, as well as that replay page. I've already shared it in the chat room, and you're here, so you got early access to it, but everyone else, including you, will be getting that in about 10-15 minutes. We really appreciate you taking just a couple minutes to fill that survey out. Let us know how we did, what your favorite sessions were, what you look forward to seeing in the future. And I think the takeaway here from these last couple days is that AI is moving fast, right? And it's not waiting for us to make up our minds about whether or not we like it. It's here, it's moving quickly, and as it evolves, it is up to us. It's our responsibility to figure out how to use it ethically and responsibly, be transparent with students when we're using it in the processes that impact prospective and current students. And the future is now. We are going to all, I think, experience, if we haven't already, the very tangible benefits of integrating AI into our day-to-day, saving time, allowing us to serve our audiences better, and to help us fill some skill gaps. So I hope that these 2 days have been so inspiring to everyone here, and that you've learned something that you can go and put into practice immediately, whether it's a new tool like Notebook LM or an advanced feature of ChatGPT. I really hope you've all had an opportunity to take something away from these last 2 days that will positively impact your work. Mary and Tony and Gretchen, Yolanda and Jamie and Brian and Shelby. Thank you all so much. And everyone else who is here with us. We appreciate you and your time. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you in Charlotte, North Carolina this summer at the end of June at the Engage Summit in real life, where we will continue all of this great learning around artificial intelligence. In that email I am going to be sending you, you will get a special discount code. If you are looking to register for that event, we'll give you an extra $100 off just because you were here today. All right. Thanks, everybody. With that, we are officially wrapping up this AI Engage Summit panel. We really appreciate your time. Attendees, we appreciate your time as well. Happy February, everyone. We'll see you in June in Charlotte. Bye-bye. Have a great afternoon. See ya.